Hi everyone, I'm Alistair Ben and you're watching Expressive Photography. In this video, I want to share with you 3 simple steps to improve your landscape photography. I have finally worked it out. I can't believe it. After shooting for nearly 25 years, I think I finally understand it. And in this video, I want to share these insights with you. So first of all, I've just come back from leading 2 creative photography retreats in the Highlands of Scotland with the wonderful John Barclay. If you haven't checked out John's work before, please do so. The link is in the description below. Of course, when you're teaching a creative photography retreat or you're dealing with a creative photography retreat, you get a lot of insights yourself, explaining things to the participants, hearing the problems that they are having and helping them to find solutions to those things. And what it's enabled me to do is to finally sit down and have a clear idea of where I've been going wrong for 25 years, where I've been going right for some of that time, but have allowed all sorts of other things to get in the way. So let's get straight down to it with tip number 1. It doesn't matter how good a camera you have or how good your technique is, cameras do not capture reality. Cameras do not see how we see, and they will not record what we see. I think for many, many years, I was trying to capture reality, to try and show what the world looked like. Whereas what I've found recently is that I can use the camera and use the techniques and use its limitations to create aesthetics and articulations of emotion that are very, very different and in many ways transcend just the physical reality that we are seeing. If I jump into my catalogue here and show you maybe a couple of examples of how that works. Just to note, these are actually just raw files. These are unworked, so this is pretty much straight out of camera here. So this image here is a reflection in a puddle using the Fuji 500mm lens that I purchased a few weeks ago. This is just walking along a muddy track and seeing puddles and the beautiful reflections that they were reflecting. Because of the incredible shallow depth of field of the 500mm f5.6 medium format lens, I'm creating this very atmospheric and very surreal landscape. Whether you like these photographs or not is micro tip number 1 to better photography. You have to like it yourself. You have to love it yourself. This is another shot taken of the same thing. Backlit, little droplets of water around the edge of the puddle there, catching that light and creating something really quite surreal. And yeah, I love it. It's an exciting representation from an incredibly dull and boring ordinary scene, puddles on a dirty road. In this scene here, using a long shutter speed to manipulate the way the leaves were on this river here. This is a 1-minute exposure with a 10-stop ND filter, and it creates this very abstract and very unrealistic representation of the scene that I saw. So if we just look at tip number 1, understanding how we can use the camera to create abstractions or detachments from reality is always going to be a really cool thing to do. It is the power of photography and it is the power of cameras. Tip number 2, stop fighting yourself. We always have expectations of our own performance. We always have our expectations of how good we should be. And one of the big problems with that is we put a huge amount of pressure on ourselves. Remember, you're in nature to be in nature. Once you slow down and just sit for a while, you will notice things beyond the surface. You will notice things that aren't apparent, that aren't immediately obvious. You won't notice the things that everybody notices. This particular photograph here is the reflections in, again, just a very small loch, a path that people walk up and down all day, and plenty of people were there and walking up and down. But just photographing the reflection itself eliminating the whole surroundings, isolating a small part of it. And I only noticed that because I'd slowed down. Whenever we go out with cameras, particularly in the autumn, of course, that's applicable for every other time of the year as well, we have these expectations of the types of photographs we're going to make. Those expectations 100% get in our way, and the only way to overcome those is to slow down, relax, take a fresh approach, and notice. You will remember I made a video about noticing very, very recently, and if you haven't seen that, please check that out. Tip number 3 is to find the balance between technique and playfulness. Play is something that most adults don't do. We think about play as going out and playing sports. Anyone who's engaged in sport knows that it's not play, it's competition. If you have an opponent on a pitch or across a court, you are not playing sport, you are competing. Photography should not be competitive, particularly with ourselves. Again, if you are competing with your expectations, you will probably lose. Playfulness is an incredibly powerful tool to develop our true creative and artistic selves. Understanding that the camera has these limitations that I discussed in point number 1, shallow depth of field, is an excellent way to explore the world with a longer focal length. And remember, an aspect ratio is only a way of eliminating things that we don't want to look at. If I show you the whole frame here, there's all sorts of things I don't want you to see. All of that stuff on the right-hand side, all of the light on the left-hand side. I want to focus this down to the bare minimum. By showing you the bare minimum, I am creating a photograph. I'm creating an aesthetic. And this aspect ratios, shutter speed, focal length, that amount of technical understanding that there are technical things that we need to know as creative artists, but using it to play. The final image here has nothing to do with technique. It has nothing to do with the camera I was using. It had only to do with my vision. Better landscape photography comes from developing your vision. And when I say your vision, I don't mean my vision, I mean your vision. I don't want this video to go on and on. I want these points to sink in, and I want you to take them away without me banging on too long. Scenes like this, I am so happy with. I was finally, at the end of 2.5 weeks of retreats, I was finally in a place to sit and notice in my way and to use the crops and aspect ratios that I had at my disposal to eliminate everything from the frame except the thing I want to show you, the viewer, or for me to appreciate on the back of my screen here. These photographs to me feel like my best version of myself today. Tomorrow may be different, next week will be different, next year will be different. My evolution as a person is going to evolve, and it will change the aesthetics and my preferences. I hope you found these 3 tips useful. They seem quite important to me, and hopefully they will set off a little light switch in your mind that will create a paradigm for you to move forward. Thank you very much for watching. I very much appreciate it, and I look forward to talking to you again next week. But for now, thank you very much. Bye for now.